today I'm going to explain what the Bitcoin nation state prisoner's dilemma is. I'm going to explain why I believe it actually started in 2020. And I'm also going to explain why it suggests that by 2028, you'll not be able to buy Bitcoin on exchanges. So let's get straight into this one by explaining what the prisoner's dilemma actually is. So most people might have heard of this term called game theory, and the prisoner's dilemma is a foundational scenario within game theory. And it just tries to explain why two completely rational individuals might not cooperate with each other, even if it is in their best interest to actually cooperate. So the most common example of this is called the prisoner's dilemma. So the prisoner's dilemma actually describes a hypothetical scenario where two different prisoners are both locked up and they're both suspected of committing the same crime. And each prisoner is actually questioned by the police and the detectives, and they're both left with a very, very tough decision. So as you can see, the prisoner can actually confess and actually dob in his friend, throw him under the bus in order for him to actually get a reduced prison sentence. And you can see his friend that he throws under the bus actually spends more time in jail. And the other option that the prisoners are faced with is to actually not say anything, stay silent, but you also have to hope that your friend does the same thing in the prison cell next to you when he's questioned by the detective. So obviously you need to trust your friend. And this is obviously the best outcome for both prisoners, for both of them to stay silent. But how do you hedge yourself in the potential scenario where your friend dobs you and throws you under the bus? So the decision that is actually best for each prisoner is to actually defect. It is to push their friend under the bus, because then they don't have to trust their other friend and what decision that they're going to make. They're going to get that reduced sentence, okay? And now let's see how this applies to Bitcoin. Now, this game theoretical example actually applies to everybody in the Bitcoin space. You could be a nation state, you could be a billionaire, you could be a public company or a private company. This same scenario applies to you, because by not choosing to buy Bitcoin, you are actually making a choice in the Bitcoin prisoner's dilemma, okay? We see it all around the world. We have all of these global organizations. We can see here we have headlines from the G7 and the G20. They're all saying, look, we need to globally cooperate to ban Bitcoin. But if you're a nation state actually being asked to cooperate and ban Bitcoin and not buy Bitcoin, what is the best option for you to individually take to actually hedge yourself in the event of hyper-Bitcoinization? The best option that you have as a nation state is to actually quietly defect, quietly throw your friend under the bus, and quietly stack Bitcoin. So let me now make the case for why I believe we are watching the Bitcoin nation state prisoner's dilemma. And I think this game has actually been going on for at least 3 years now, since 2020. Okay, so overtly, we have lots of evidence that is in the public and most people know about. So obviously we have nation states like El Salvador and even the Central Africa Republic who have overtly made Bitcoin legal tender. We also have lots of other countries around the world who have regions within their country where Bitcoin is also legal tender, or it is a 0% tax rate. So we have countries such as Switzerland, Portugal, Honduras, Guatemala, Costa Rica. We have Bitcoin Jungle there. We have so many other Bitcoin projects all around the world. And these are all public programs, and these are all publicly endorsed by governments and nation states around the world. And the most interesting case of Bitcoin nation state adoption that I believe we have seen in Bitcoin's history is actually what happened in the Kingdom of Bhutan. Now, we've actually talked about this fascinating story of the Kingdom of Bhutan a couple of times on the channel before, but if you're new here, I'm going to quickly summarize it. They got exposed for buying Bitcoin and taking US dollar loans on BlockFi and Celsius when the bankruptcy filings of these two companies actually got released. And after this announcement came out, and I think it was early 2023, the Kingdom of Bhutan came out and said, yes, okay, we've been buying Bitcoin on BlockFi and Celsius. We've been taking US dollar loans on both platforms. But guess what? We've also been buying and mining Bitcoin since 2019 when Bitcoin was under $5,000 a coin. And after that headline came out earlier in the year, they came out another week later and they said, yep, that's right. We've been mining Bitcoin and buying Bitcoin since 2019. And now we're going to invest another $500 million into Bitcoin mining in our nation state because we think it's going to make us more profitable. So I think that's an absolute fascinating example of the nation state prisoner's dilemma, okay? The Kingdom of Bhutan silently defected. They were quietly buying Bitcoin because that is their best hedge against hyper-Bitcoinization, okay? That is the only way that they can be assured, and they don't have to trust that their prisoner cell, who's in the cell next to them, is not actually going to do the same thing with Bitcoin, okay? The most logical decision is to actually defect and buy Bitcoin quietly yourself. But I believe we also have some other evidence that kind of suggests there could be more to this nation-state Bitcoin adoption and Bitcoin race that I believe has been going on for the past 3 years. So the first chart that I want to show you guys today is actually the hash rate. And the hash rate and the price of Bitcoin has actually had a very interesting relationship over the past 10 years in Bitcoin's life. Typically, price follows hash rate, and hash rate follows price. Nobody knows whether the chicken came before the egg or not in this one, but I'm just going to show you the correlation. And we can see every single time the Bitcoin price has a big crash, the Bitcoin hash rate typically also crashes. So we can see here in 2018, the Bitcoin price crashed from $6,000 to $3,000, all in the space of 1 month in December. And we can see what happened to the hash rate. We had the Bitcoin mining death spiral, okay? Most people might remember those headlines circulating around. I was actually horrified at this situation in 2018 when I was a little bit more of a beginner and a newbie. But we can see here, hash rate crashed 30% after price crashed 50%. So this was in the depths of the bear market. Bitcoin price went down, Bitcoin hash rate went down. What happened in 2021? Well, the exact same thing. We can see here when China came out and banned Bitcoin in 2021, we can see the price of Bitcoin crashed 60%. And guess what happened to the hash rate? Hash rate also plummeted by over 50% in the same window of time. So again, what happened? Bitcoin price went down. Bitcoin hash rate also went down in that 2021 bear market. But let's remember what happened. Bitcoin recovered from that 50% price crash, and it rallied all the way back up to a fresh new all-time high in 2022, where Bitcoin hit around $69,000. Bitcoin has once again crashed by 75% since that 2022 all-time high. But what happened to the hash rate? Price went down, but over the past 12 months, hash rate is going absolutely parabolic to the moon. It's unbelievable how rapidly the Bitcoin hash rate is actually increasing. We can see the Bitcoin hash rate is actually up by over 400% since the 2021 Bitcoin China mining ban. And I think this is very interesting. And now the second chart I want to show you guys today is actually along a similar vein to the hash rate. And it is showing that, again, for the first time in Bitcoin's life, something different is happening in the bear market. Typically, for the first 12 years of Bitcoin's life, this chart shows that coins were actually sent to exchanges. So this chart is measuring the amount of Bitcoin sitting on exchanges. And we can see that for the first 12 years of Bitcoin's life, it increased. And every bear market, the amount of coins sent to the exchanges also increased. We can see in 2015, 800,000 Bitcoin were actually sent to exchanges to be sold for paper fiat profits. Same thing happened in 2018. We had 900,000 coins sent to exchanges to be sold for paper fiat. But in 2022, something really strange is happening. We've actually seen 1 million coins leave exchanges since 2020. So this is the first time in Bitcoin's life that we have seen a sustained period of time where coins are leaving exchanges, which really makes us ask the question, who is buying all of that Bitcoin? Well, the Occam's razor response would actually suggest that, hey, it could just be the Bitcoin plebs self-custodying their Bitcoin. We've seen all of these exchanges like BlockFi, Celsius, and FTX and Luna all blow up over the past couple of years. Maybe people are just taking self-custody of their Bitcoin. I mean, this explanation does make a little bit of sense. Self-custody has gotten a lot easier in the past 3 years, but I would kind of point out the fact and say, hey, 1 million coins, that's a lot of coins to be self-custody just by plebs in the past 3 years. Maybe there's some bigger actors involved. Something else that we do know for sure is the amount of coins that have actually not moved in the past 5 years is going absolutely exponential. So 29% of the Bitcoin supply has not moved in over 5 years. And that is a huge amount. So all we know for sure, coins are leaving exchanges and they're going to wallets who don't have a history of moving their coins in the past 5 years. So this is very interesting. And now this gets us into the part of the video where I want to speculate just a little bit, okay? I think it's really interesting that when we dive into the narrative of Bitcoin in each prior bear market, we can see things are completely different today, okay? In the 2015 and the 2018 bear markets, where coins on exchanges were increasing and the Bitcoin hash rate was decreasing while the price was decreasing, the narrative was so different. In 2015, nobody knew what Bitcoin was, okay? 99.9% of the people trading Bitcoin in 2015 were just retail speculators. Same thing in 2018. I reckon 99.8% of the people trading Bitcoin in 2018 were just retail speculators. People were buying altcoins. They were investing in the crypto mania, the ICO craze. But I believe since 2020, things have actually started to change. I believe that more and more of the Bitcoin trading volume is actually being dominated by large institutions, okay? It sounds like an outlandish claim, but have a look at all the billionaires, all the nation states, all the public companies who have came out and actually publicly voiced the fact that they are bullish on Bitcoin. Let's actually forget about the fact we have all of these nation states who are quietly buying Bitcoin since 2020, like the Kingdom of Bhutan. I actually think that it's the big boys who could be responsible for this parabolic hash rate and for this supply suffocation that we're seeing on exchanges today. And then, of course, we have the announcement of BlackRock that just recently happened. BlackRock came out and they said, look, we're the largest asset manager in the space. We've bashed Bitcoin for the past 6 years, but we're actually going to try and launch the first Bitcoin spot ETF in America. And we think Bitcoin is an international asset. They are the exact words of Larry Fink. And since then, we have seen some of the largest asset managers and banks from all around the world plow capital into Bitcoin and try to actually apply for the rights to custody Bitcoin and offer Bitcoin trading services to their customers. I saw this really cool chart the other day, and it actually shows that the 500 largest asset managers in the world control over $130 trillion of capital. What happens when 1% of that tries to flow into Bitcoin? Well, I run all of these bullish numbers for you guys in a recent video. If you want to learn a little bit more about the Bitcoin multiplier effect, recommend you check out the video recorded on that topic right there. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the nation state race for Bitcoin, I also covered that in another video. You can find that one right there. And with all that said, I will see you guys in the next video.